Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to show you how to design the solution for a popular front-end interview question asked by companies like Google and Amazon. Here is the challenge. Given a data object resembling a folder structure, create a folder structure UI similar to VS Code with appropriate functionalities. Let's go to the challenge to know more details. You will be provided with a data file containing an object representing a folder structure. Every object inside of the global object has a key called isFolder. isFolder will let you know if the current object contains children or not. If true, object will have children. Here are the user stories we will cover as part of this solution. A user should be able to click on a folder. Upon clicking, the folder will be expanded, showing the files and folders inside of it. Use the data object to mimic a real-world data folder scenario. The folder component takes a prop called files. Based on the type of the file, appropriate extension icon should be visible right next to the label. For example, a index.js file will show a JavaScript icon. An appropriate paddings and margins should be provided to the children files and folders. If a file is not a folder, clicking on it should not trigger any additional action. By the end of this video, you are going to see a robust UI structure displaying the folder content similar to what we are seeing here. Let's get into the action to start designing solution for this challenge. Let's go to VS Code. Okay, this is the app component. I have already started the application. Let me show you how it looks like at the beginning of our design. Just click on Ctrl+Shift+P to open simple browser inside VS Code and then go to http local host 3000. Press enter. This is our application as of now. Okay, now we should design solution for our front-end interview question. Let's go to the source folder and then create a folder inside your src folder. I am creating here folder structure. Inside folder structure, create a file named folder.jsx. Generate boilerplate code using shortcut RAFCE and then press enter. Okay, this is our folder component. Let's add this folder component to our app component. Save it. Let's import it. Go to folder is not defined. Okay, let me check what is the issue here. Folder. Let's save. Yeah, now our folder component is getting displayed on the page. Next thing is what we have to do is we should pass the data object as a property to this folder component. Okay, for that we should import the data given in the challenge. For that, let's go to the challenge and then copy this data file and create a file inside VS Code. Data.js and paste the code here. is the data. Now let's import not from here. Let's import the data into our folder component. Let's go here. Import files from data file. Okay. Now inside this folder component, I'm going to use one more component called children's, for which I'm going to pass this files as a property, this object data, that is data object as a property to another component, that is children's component. Files equal to files. This is where I'm going to provide my complete logic for this solution. Okay, that's the reason I created one more component, that is children's component, for which I'm passing the data object as a property. Okay, data object as a property. Now let's create one more file, that is children's.jsx. Inside it, generate boilerplate code again. Okay, this is the, let me save. Okay, inside children's component, let's add properties files. Because we are passing the data object as property to this children's component. Okay, I am accessing that property inside our children's component. And then here what we have to do is, if you look at our solution, what we are aiming to reach by the end of this video, it is like this. Okay, it is having a box or container with a background gray color, and then inside that container we are displaying the folder structure. For that, what I'm going to do here is, first I will design that outer container with a background color gray. Okay, for that, let me add the elements for it. Okay, inside this I will be adding one more div, and then I will just add a data saying that folder structure display. I simply added a text, and then let me add CSS styles. I'm using Tailwind CSS for this. Class name, display flex, justify, start, and then the similar way, let me add styles for this as well. Flex, call, border to, padding 4, rounded MD, text color white, inline flex, height H screen, width auto, overflow auto, as well as background color gray 700. Okay, now I have added the styles required for our solution. Let me see it. Folder.js, children's is not defined. Okay, we should import children's component into our folder component. What happened? Children's. Let me copy from here and then use it here. Yep. Now let's go to our solution. See here. Now we got the external container, that is outer container, which will display our folder structure. Now what we have to do is, we should display we should read the data from the data object and then display the contents. For that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create one more component inside our I'm going to use one more component inside our children's component, that is display, for which I'm going to pass the files property as a property. Okay, now let me add const display, which will read the data property from children's component. Okay, now inside this, what we are going to do is, inside this we should read the data and then display inside our container, For that, what we have to do is we should check for the condition whether it's a folder or file. Why? Because if it's a folder, it will contain again subfolders and then files. For that, what I'm doing is, let me add return and then check condition. Okay, but let me add a div. Inside div, we should display our content. Okay, this div should be have a display of flex column. Why? Because we are displaying our content in vertical fashion. Okay, vertical fashion, and then margin left, let's say I'm adding 4, margin left 4, and then inside here I should check whether data.is folder. If it's a folder, what we have to do is, if it's a folder, we should display the folder name as well as the caret icon. If you see here, when the folder is expanded, when the folder is not expanded, we are displaying caret right. When the folder is expanded, we are displaying caret down. Okay, based on the condition, either we should display caret right or caret down icons. Okay, for that, what we have to do is, we should import icons from React icons package, React icons library. Okay, let me import fa caret down. Okay, in the similar way, fa caret right. Okay, I have imported caret down, caret right icons. Now, based on the condition, what we have to show is, we should display either caret down or caret right along with the folder name. Okay, for that, what I'm going to do here is, I'm going to take one state variable, const visible set visible using useState hook, and passing initial value as false. Now inside this, what I'm going to do is, I'll use this state variable and then display caret icon as well as folder name. Okay, for that, let me add div. Inside div, I am going to display, first is icon. Okay, again inside icon, we should use visible state variable to check whether the folder is expanded or closed. Okay, if it's visible, that means if it's expanded, we should display caret down icon. Okay, for that, caret down. If not, we should display caret right. And then we should display folder name. folder name is data.name. Data.name. Okay. Now, if it's not a folder, nothing but it's a file. So we should simply display the file content. We should simply display the file content. Okay. If it's not a folder, we should simply display the file content. Again, for file, we should display one is a file icon. Okay. One is a file icon and then file name. Okay. For that, let me add a div. Inside div, I should display the file icon, file icon, and then file name. Okay, that is data.name. Okay, now we should actually define this file icon. We should get the file value for file icon based on the extension type of the file. Okay, for that, let me import a few more icons for JavaScript, CSS, HTML, and then JSON. Okay, if you look at our data, you can check what all the extensions we have. If you see .js, .css, .html, and then yeah, these are the 4 extensions. That's the reason I'm going to import icons for those file types. Okay, those file types. Let me import icons for them from the same React icons package. Okay, one is for JavaScript, and then file JSON. Okay, solid file JSON. Okay, along with that, we should get icons for HTML as well as CSS. IO logo, CSS 3. Okay, and then one more import for HTML. Import SI HTML icon. Okay, now we got all the icons for our file extensions. Now let me add a logic. To check for the extension and then return the respective icon only. Okay, for that, let me add a logic here. Const, what is the variable we used? File icon equal to data.is folder. That means if the file is not a folder, what we have to do is we should check for the extension. That is data.name dot ends with .js. If the file name ends with JS, I will be returning this JavaScript icon. Okay, JavaScript icon, and the color should be text yellow, 400. Okay, I'm going to return this file icon. Okay, if it's not JS, ended with JS, we again use one more logic to check for name ends with dot css. Okay, if it's kind of ending with css, I'm going to return css component. Okay, let me copy this and then replace css icon, and then text should be blue. Text color should be, there is a icon color should be blue. Okay, next again here, if it's not ending with .js, .css, next thing again we should check for data dot name dot ends with dot html. Okay, html, if it's kind of ending with .html, we should return html icon. Let me copy, paste it here and use html icon. Color should be red. Icon color should be red. If it's not ending with .js, .css, .html, I'm going to check for JSON. I'm going to check for JSON. That ends with .json. If it's kind of going to end with .json, I simply return JSON icon. Let me copy, paste, and then copy this JSON icon. Here, color should be green. Okay. If it's not ending with any of them, any of the above, then I simply return empty. Okay. Then I simply return empty here, and then here null. Okay. Then I simply return. If it's a folder, I should simply return. Okay, not here. Here. Okay, let me format it. Okay. Now we are done with adding logic for our file icon. Okay, now let me save this and then check our application. We got a couple of errors. What is the error here? Expected corresponding JSX close. Okay, let's go here. I think I haven't closed this display component. Let's save. Why it's not showing anything here? Yep, it's now showing only root folder. Only root folder. It's only showing root folder. Let me add some styles to display the structure in proper organized way. Okay, in proper organized way. For that, let me add some styles for the div components, div tags. Okay, for this here, let me add class name flex items center cursor pointer. Okay, and then inside span, let me add margin right 2. Okay, same way for our name, for our folder or file name, let me add some style, that is text white. Okay, text white, and then close it. Similar way for our file display as well. Let me add class name flex. Okay, items center, and then for this span, let me add margin right margin right, then color per file, text gray, let's save and then check. Yeah, if you see now it's properly organized, but it's not happening anything. If we, when we click on here, nothing is happening here. Let me add an event. Let me add an event. If it's a folder, let me add an event, that is on click event. If it's a folder, okay, that is inside this here. Let me add on click, and then add a event handler, handle click. Okay, let me implement solution for this. Let me implement handle click event. Okay, handle click event const. If it's a folder, and then when we click on folder, what we have to do is we should display the files under the subfolders of it, right? For that, what I can use is I'm going to use this state variable, that is visible. I simply use this variable based on this condition, that is, if it's closed, when we click, it should be expanded. If it's expanded already, when we click on it, it should be closed. For that, I am going to use this state. Okay, I simply update the state. Based on the user action. Okay, for that, what I'm going to do here is I simply update the state, set visible, and then if it's open, it should be closed. That is, we simply negate the state, negate the existing state. That is, if it's a false, it should be true. If it's true, it should be false. Based on that, we can display the contents of our folder. Okay, now let's see. If I click on here, I mean, the click is working fine, but the thing is, nothing is showing under root folder. Why? Because we simply displayed folder name, but we haven't gone inside folder and then loop through all the contents of folder. Okay, all the contents of folder. For that, what we have to do is we should use a recursion. Based on the condition. That is, if it's a folder and then the condition is visible is true, and then there are children for that folder. If all are true, then we should display contents of the folder. Then we should display the contents of the folder. For that, let me add a logic. For that, here I am going to use a recursion to loop through all the contents of the folder till we reach there are no more folders, only files available. Okay, till that point we should use recursion and then display all the contents. Okay, for that I am using a recursion concept here. Data dot, if it's a folder, first thing is if it's a folder and the state variable, that is visible is true. That means we should display the contents of folder. That means folder is clicked and then it's expanded. Then only visible becomes true, otherwise it will be false. And then if it's a folder, visible is true, then we should check whether the folder has children or not. Okay, if it has a children, then if you go and check in the data file, you have a children property. Okay, we are simply accessing this. If it's not empty, then we should display the contents of the folder. If that is the case, what I'm doing here is I simply using recursion to display the contents inside of folder. Okay, for that, let me add a div tag, and then inside div tag, let me loop through all the children dot map. Okay, child comma index, child comma index, child comma index. Inside here, what I'm going to do here is I simply call the display component again. That is, we are using recursion here. We are using recursion, for which I am passing key index and data equal to child. Okay, data equal to child, and then level. We should also pass which level. Why? Because I'll tell you this later. Level plus 1. Okay. Now, what is the error here? Identifier expected. Okay, we should close it. Now let me save and then go and check. Okay, level is not. Okay, why I'm using level here is we should actually display our folder structure like this, right? I mean, if it's a root, if when we expand the root, all the content should have a different margin, not in the same level. They should be in different level. Child should be in the different. Again, if we click on here, that again child should be on different levels. It should not be on the same level. Then only it will be like folder structure. For that, I am using level attribute, level property, for which based on that level property, I am going to decide the margin. I am going to decide the margin. Okay, let me pass here. Level default will be 1. Default will be level 1. Okay. As we keep on expand the folder structure, the level should change. Okay. For that, I am going to use one more variable. Based on that, I decide the indentation of our folder structure. Okay. For that, let me add one variable const indent equal to string literals. Inside string literal, I'll simply access the level. And then multiply with 0.5 rem. This is I'm going to use for our left margin. Okay, copy this, and then come inside our outer div. Here we are using, here we hard coded it, right? Instead of hard coding, what I'm going to do here is I simply use one more style component, that is inline style, where I say margin left, margin left will be this indent. Okay, now let me save and then see. You see here now? See, now everything is perfect. When we expand, we are getting the folders and then files of it. Then again, if we expand the folder, we are even seeing the files along with the file icons. And then for the same for the public folder. Okay, with this we almost done with the solution. Let me format and then check the original, and then if at all we missed anything, we can add it. Okay, now this is our solution, and then let me open. If you see, the port is, our application is running on 3000 port, and the desired solution, it is running on 5173. Okay, here if you see, let me check if there is any difference between this desired solution as well as our solution. If at all any difference, we can add. Okay, if I see, everything is perfect, everything is looking same as what we expected to design. Okay, what we expected to design. This is all about our solution, for today's front-end interview challenge. Let me rephrase, and then let me explain you one more thing. What we did here to implement the solution. We simply started designing a component, that is folder component, for which we passed data object as a property. Inside which I am using one more component for which I passed data object as a property. The data object is given by the solution, given in the challenge itself. So I'm using the same. So if you replace here, let me add one more file name here and then check whether it's working fine or not. Inside public, I'm going to add one more object, and then let me make it styles1.css, as well as one more component for HTML. One more component for HTML, that is index1.html. Save it and then go here and then check whether they are getting reflected or not. If you see here, inside public we added two more objects, that is index1, styles1. So they are perfectly coming over here. If you see here. So with this, our solution is dynamic. You change any property here, any object here, that will be reflected in our solution. Let me add one more folder, along with couple of one child. Let me add here. Okay, let me add here. Then okay, remove this. Save it, then change it to public one, true. Inside it again index.html. Let's go and check. See here, we got another folder inside which we added only one child, that is file index.html. Okay, this is all about our solution, what we have designed for our challenge, which is frequently asked in most of the big companies. Okay, this is for today's video. If you like the video, please subscribe and share the video with your friends. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.